program that they're trying to fund. And I was telling them, sitting down with them, I told them, I said the black experience in school is different, especially being African American male. Me being 35, me having to come back to school and class, all the administration's gone. Everybody leaves at 5:30, and I got to take care of my family, and I got to come back to school, and there's nobody there. But then, me being an African American male and being the only one in class, I can't identify with nothing. I can't identify with everything. And so recently, fast forward, this was sometime last year, and so I've been working with Tamika Anderson. She's in charge of the transfer center. So what they're looking at now is having a community conference, all African American male conference, and an African American male retreat. And so I'm here to basically be the liaison or be the voice of PCC to try to help get this thing off the ground. Is because of now what happened is through UGMA, through economics, a lot of things like that that's happening is forcing black people to go back and get education, forcing a lot of black people to go back to school. I had the opportunity to, through my church, is I had everything funded at PCC. I never paid for a class, I never paid for a book, I never paid for nothing. It's called the Ascendant Light Scholarship Program. And what Ascendant Lights do is they go to the local churches and they basically handpick African American males to go back to school. That's who I got my scholarship to, and now we have two younger gentlemen, 18 and 19, that have a scholarship too. And so it's open to whoever, like I said, if you guys know any African American males, or females that want to go back to school, there's opportunity for, this is only for junior colleges, so not for universities, but you got to start somewhere. And so, like I said, there's opportunities out there for us to better ourselves, so stuff like that. And so getting with James and Defi coming here is just trying to be a voice within the community. But Defi at this point is, like I was telling James, I was in my African American psychology class the other day, and another gentleman said, we got to stop speaking negative to our race. A lot of races, they always talk about mass incarceration or other things like that. But now, at this point, is, like you said, we got to get up and do, at this point. And as far as, you never see the Latinos or the whites, they're speaking bad about their race a lot, as much as black people do. We always saying, this is what we're not going to do, or this is what we need to do, but we never do it together, And so now I was telling James earlier, it's time for us to do it together and quit speaking negative just about our race in general, and to be proactive and to speak life and to speak different things, to speak life into our race. And so, like I said, I'm just here to be an advocate, to be a voice, to be a vehicle to help the community. I'm definitely heavily involved with the men over at Victory Bible Church. I definitely see some brothers in here that's actively involved in our men's ministry too. So we do the same thing in church, and now doing the same thing at PCC and here, is to just make everybody better and just make us better. And so, like I said, I'll definitely be here throughout the night to help you guys, whatever questions that you guys have, and so we can move forward with this. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Now, what Manny didn't exactly say is, and you'll learn more about it tonight, this evening, is he's planning the male conference is an extension of some of the things that we've discussed here in the Speak Out. And so, we wanted to make sure that we brought some real live people who are actually doing. And that's the space we want to get in, is the action, is the doing. Stop complaining. It's really simple. Let's just get into an action step. This next brother is someone I've known quite some time, and Manny was one of the ones that wanted me to connect with him. They didn't know that we knew each other. We didn't know that we knew each other until we reconnected. It had been some years since we had last seen each other, and when we finally had a chance to reconnect, it was pretty awesome. I was pretty excited about a solution that he wanted to bring forward. And so I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that, as well as introduce our facilitator and moderator for the evening. But But the next voice you'll hear is that of Brother Chad Hunter. We can clap if you want.
Feels a little tense. I don't know. Thank you guys. Thank you, Pasadena. Thank you, Northwest. It's been a while since I've been able to re-engage myself back into the community and find my place and use what I've learned in my travels and my experience to come back and bring that back to the community. I heard about the Speak Outs when they first started, but I was traveling with who you're going to hear soon, my business partner, friend, over our business company, My Click Urban, the app that we produce as a medium to find events, post events. And while traveling, I was constantly hearing about shootings and what was going on in Pasadena. It hit home when a very close family friend of mine, JR, was killed. And then it was around that time I started to rethink what can we do, because on one end, we do have my young brothers and sisters in the community that are fighting amongst each other, but then we have this other situation where we're trying to protect ourselves, or expecting to be protected by those who are here to protect us, and then we're kind of fighting against them. And so in that, I think I spoke with Lasana about introducing the study group back in like November or October. But it's kind of like God has you maybe wait for a right opportunity. So I wasn't aware of how the Speak Outs were going outside of the videos were posted and what I was reading. And then sometime in January or December, it kind of hit me that one of the things that I know helped me in my development was to rethink who I am as a man, and how that process came about was from going into a study group. As I went into college, Pasadena City College or San Diego State, I was always challenged with this idea: am I on the right path that I want to be on? I mean, I understand I've had mentors and they told me you need to do this, or you're going to be a pastor, or you're going to be a baseball player, or you're going to, but it was like, okay, that's what you see, but I don't know if I'm really identifying with that. And I'm still trying to figure out, at the age of 20, 21, 22, what this means to be a black man in America as I'm going to school. And I have this complex situation around me that I really see elders talking to me about it, but I don't really know if they understand maybe if what I'm going through now compared to what they went through. Because there's a way it was identified as being black and powerful and moving and educating each other that many of my elders organized through, that just wasn't presented in my group and those after me. So from going through the study groups with Lasana and talking, and even though we were at a distance, as I read the chapters, one thing Lasana always talked to me about was, when you read something, try to find somebody in that field who has an understanding to talk to them about that. Because sometimes we can read, and we just process and we don't let it out, and we don't ask questions and we don't challenge ourselves to the point we come up with our own ideas and kind of like isolate ourselves, rather than propel ourselves back into our community to try to find some solutions. So with the study group itself, we're going, I think the flyers coming around, I know Lasana's going to come up and speak in a second, but we're going to hand out some of these flyers as far as when the study group is going to start. I'll just make the announcement now. The first official introduction of the study group will be on March 18th, Saturday, here at 4 o'clock. Has everybody seen the book? Can you hand me the book over there on the table? Sorry about that. So this is the first book, and we'll decide if we want to continue doing more, but this is the first one that really helped me and changed my thinking, because the subjects in this book is not necessarily like a biography or a historical reference. It's literally 7 men who write on different topics that they specialize in, whether it be spirituality, politics, and they necessarily don't tell me or you what you need to do. They really write from their own experience how they transition and develop to identifying who they are in that area, whether it be financial literacy, whether it be in spirituality, whether it be in manhood, how you define that, what does that mean to be a man, i.e. what does that mean to be a black man, and how you navigate in this world. So we're going to go through that. Basically, there's some of my boy Jamar is here. He's actually one of the the men who will be assisting me in navigating through the conversation with the young men, particularly between 14 and 26, young men and women. And what we're doing is we're coming together with a generation we're not too far removed for. I mean, most of us who are in the group that are like lead readers are literally between the ages of 30 and 36. I have a sister who's part of the group who, she couldn't be here today. She's an adjunct professor at Howard University. Also, she got her PhD at USC by 24. And she's going to be here to talk to some of the young men about, you know, experiencing the challenges she may go through with connecting with men and how to identify that, or finding a man who can understand, you know, her strength. So we're going to go through this myriad of topics and the complexity in each topics and how it relates to our community, and even more so how it relates to us individually and finding ourselves collectively in the community. So I won't go on because I know we got Lasana's going to go up. So with that being said, I am going to bring up my friend, my business partner, Lasana Hotep.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate the introduction. Appreciate everyone coming out today. I live in Oakland now, so I came down from Oakland to engage our community in this conversation and talk a little bit about the value of what we're going to be doing with the book club. I live in Oakland now, but about 5 years ago I lived in Arizona. I lived in Phoenix, and I have a younger brother who's 9 years younger than me. And at the time he lived in Dallas, Texas. And 5 years ago, coming this July, I got a phone call from a mutual friend of ours. And he called me and he said, hey man, some girl hit me on Twitter in my DM and told me that your brother is missing. I said, what? He said, your brother's missing. I said, what's her name? And he said her name, and I wasn't familiar with her. I said, you probably just don't want to talk to her no more. And he's like, okay. And a couple hours later, he said, I think this is really serious. I said, why do you think it's serious? He said, another girl who I know your brother hit me in my direct messages. And she said, not only is he missing, he was in her car, and they found her car torched and burnt in an empty lot. And so I was concerned. At the time, my mother lived in another part of Texas, but she was on vacation in Colorado. And so I didn't want to tell her and get her upset before I found out anything. So I started getting on the phone, start calling people. And as I called people that I knew my brother, they would introduce me to someone else, and I started making these phone calls. And I found out something. I found out that my brother at the time, he wanted to be a rapper. And in his pursuit of being a rapper, he met a young lady who offered him the dream of a lifetime, you know, the one that we all hope for. Hey baby, you're so wonderful and so beautiful. Why don't I just take care of you while you just live your dream? And he got that offer, and that lasted about a month before she put him out. I guess he wasn't that beautiful and that wonderful. And when he got put out, he went to extreme measures. And one of those extreme measures was he decided that he wanted to be a drug dealer. And this is unbeknownst to any of us in the family. So at the time, he's couch surfing, and he's trying to sell weed. And come to find out, a guy calls him and says, hey, I know a guy who wants $2,500 worth of product. Why don't you connect with him? He gets the young lady's car keys, goes to meet with them, and from that point on, he wasn't heard from again. So my mother calls me like 2 hours after that. She says, you hear something about your brother being missing? And I'm like, how in the hell she find out? She said, some girl called me because she said that his phone is in her name, and that's how she got my number. And she said that he can't be found. And I said, yeah, I heard something, but don't worry about it. I called the police in Dallas and in the Fort Worth area. They take some information, but don't really share anything. I buy a ticket to go to Dallas anyway to find out what's going on. 2 days, that's supposed to happen 2 days later. The day after, I get a phone call from the Dallas Police Department. And they said, we found your brother, and all we can tell you is the hospital he's at. That's it. And I said, well, what's his condition? They said, we can't speak on his condition if you can't get to the hospital. So I got on a plane, I flew to Texas, and I went there. And my brother was in ICU under a medically induced coma. And come to find out, he had been pistol whipped and left for dead in the Texas sun. And when they found him, he didn't have on any clothes except for his boxer shorts, this dog tag necklace that he had carried on and had been baking in the sun for 2.5 days. And they didn't know what was going to happen. And I really didn't want my mother to have to go identify a body of her son. So come to find out, what happened was my brother went to meet these guys. And when he went to meet these guys, they handed him a bag and he handed them a bag. And his bag that he handed them was the weed. And the bag they handed him was counterfeit money. He said, "This money ain't real." And they said, they pulled out a gun. They said, "Get out the car or we're going to kill you." So he took the counterfeit money, got out the car, got back in the car, and went to his supplier and said, "Hey, they gave me fake money." And at that point, the suppliers were not interested in hearing his narrative of being robbed and being given fake money, and so they kidnapped him, and they beat him, and they left him for dead. I tell this story because although I am an academic administrator in college, and at a community college in Oakland, although I have authored several essays and books, although I've done a lot of traveling all over the world, dealing with our experience, I'm not divorced from the realities of the day-to-day life lived of women and men in our communities trying to create something out of nothing. And so this is not a far-fetched intellectual exercise for me. This is a very intimate kind of experience for me. And the reason why I do the work that I do is because I initially started out with a question of what is wrong with black people? That was my question. And I used to think something that has to be wrong, because the black people who raised me are wonderful people who I love and they love me, but there's some stuff going on with the drug overdoses, with the imprisonment, with the abuse and the violence and all the other things that I was exposed to growing up here in LA and in Long Beach. I was like, something is going on. And what I found out in my search was really interesting. And what I found out is that the answer to that question has very little to do with a pathology or something that's inherent in our community, but it actually has to do with something that is systemic and institutional. And when I found out the ways in which systems and institutions work to shape agenda and shape lives, I was able to better understand what was going on with us. And if you look at any kind of demographic or any kind of information that's an indicator of success in a society, what you find out is in our communities, the reason why we are high on all the negative indicators and low on all the positive indicators is because those are results of people under attack. If people are under attack, you're going to see that, right? And so you have the very obvious situations, okay? We as a municipality, elected officials, are going to make a decision